This is crazy. This is insane. A little bit about the Eric Garner case. So Eric Garner, 2014 or so, several years ago, he was a police officer put him in a chokehold and killed him in broad daylight, right there in front of everybody. There was somebody that was videotaping, and it was in front of all these people. So the man Daniel Pantaleo, he's the one that's going to choke Eric Garner. He's going to choke him until he dies. The medical examiner said that he died by asthma attack because of the chokehold, and then he ruled it as a homicide. Now, when Eric Garner was face down on the ground, he said, "I can't breathe," 11 times. "I can't breathe. I 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 can't breathe." So, oh my God. Okay, so choking him for 11 seconds. Supposedly, the police are absolutely the police union or whatever. So you got Mayor Bill de Blasio. He was on the debate stage, and all he said was we needed a different conversation about the police. We just need to have a different conversation. And the different conversation is essentially the police can commit crimes too. So let's just talk about the big, crimes. There's a million laws out here. What Eric Garner was accused of doing, he was suspected of selling individual cigarettes from packs without tax stamps. Now, they had caught him doing this beforehand, but I have seen or heard nothing. They didn't find any cigarettes on it. I've heard and seen nothing that has corroborated that he was doing that. And even if he was doing that, that's a chokehold and a death. Selling a cigarette, if you're selling a cigarette, you're probably not very wealthy. So, the actual story, I heard he was the hero. Eric Garner had broke up a fight just moments before. The police didn't come up, and then, he's still standing there. He didn't do nothing wrong. There was a fight that happened. He broke him up, but they went ahead and started messing with him. This reminds me of a quick little story that I had in my younger years. So I'm driving to school, and when I'm driving like 15 miles an hour. I was driving super slow, just taking my time. And so I drove, it was back in the hills, and so I had saw, just when I popped over this little bunny hill, and then I looked up the big hill, and I saw this lady who was driving erratically, coming crazy down the bigger hill that was, about 2 miles away from me, or a mile. And so I just totally stopped. I just completely stopped my vehicle, and then there's like a downwards, so she's going crazy, erratic, driving side to side, and then eventually she drives up into the embankment and then circles around, and then she nails the tree. And I drive up, and I see if she's okay. I'm worried about it. I go to the neighbor's house, and they acted like, what's going on? Like I was trying to, like I was up to something in the morning. A lady just, got into a wreck, and she's about to die, and someone needs to call the police. Can you do that? Jesus. And then eventually the police get there, they get the jaws of life, they pull her out, and then they fly a helicopter on out. So I think I saved her. I think that she lived. I don't know who would have crossed her path. It might have been 10, 15, 20 minutes. It was out in a rural part of Kentucky. So she could have been over there. It was early in the morning. I was driving to school, so it's like 7 in the morning. So who knows who would have found her? Who knows who would have found her, how long she would have been there. And then, every single second, every single minute during a crisis like that counts. If she's stuck, if there's some piece that's sticking into her or something, and if she needs, some services, then we need to hurry up and get her, some help. So I'm a hero, right? I'm a hero. That's, that was great. It was wonderful because I'm glad I was there. It was only 115 miles an hour. Then I came to a complete stop about, not a mile, but it was just a great distance. It was a long-ass distance. So, but apparently, I'm not for sure what happened. I think the neighbor lady that I knocked on her door, I think she told them something about, I don't know, he drives, he's always a bad driver. I don't know what she said to the police. But the police didn't thank me. They didn't recognize me as a hero. They said, you know what? I've heard that you drive fast around here. If I ever catch you driving fast, I'm going to throw your ass in jail. So I'm a fucking hero, and here he's threatening me. What was the point of that? Just because I'm the only one there on the scene, some tragedy happened, you need to hurt somebody, you need to blame somebody. And so just blame the hero, blame the person that actually notified, the authorities and saved the woman. It's fucking ridiculous. It's fucking bullshit. They can't even say thank you to a hero that had saved somebody's life. They can't even be decent in the saving of someone's life. So, this Eric Garner case, okay, so can we agree that there's a million laws out here, but some laws are more important than others? So when it comes to, this whole, okay, let's assume the worst. He was selling little tiny cigarettes. He was, little cigarettes, and he bought the pack, from out of state, so he didn't have the tax stamps, and so therefore he's committing a crime. He wasn't paying his, half a penny sales tax or whatever it would have been. So, if that's the case, there's discretion. There's big crimes out here. There's real important big crimes. That's a dumb, petty thing. That is so stupid. So you have murder, you got rape, you got arson. People could burn down your house. You got, there's... So can we agree that there are, big major crimes which are important and we need to handle, and then that there's a bunch of insignificant little things that doesn't fucking matter whatsoever? And when we agree... So, there's a bunch of, I got a list of 6 or 7 of them, but essentially, murder is the worst thing. You're taking everything that person is and never will be. So, if you hurt that person, they still live and they can still, have future life experiences. You murder them, well, they don't breathe, they don't talk, they don't have any more experiences. You've ended that chapter of that person forever and ever. Murder is the worst crime out here. If we can't agree that murder is wrong, well, we don't have no basis for a civilization. We got 27 wars that we're engaged in, and these police officers, so far, Daniel Pantaleo, he's not going to get fired, but there is a recommendation from a judge that he does get fired. And so this police chief is freaking out because there is a judge that said he should get fired. Now, what's going to happen? A grand jury is not going to indict Daniel Pantaleo. A grand jury, the whole point of a grand jury is the trial before the trial, so it's to stop frivolous felony cases. Anybody could just point to somebody and say, I accuse you of murder. And then, now you have to have a big trial because someone charged you with a crime. Well, in order to stop frivolousness, to stop people from getting in trouble for felonies, because the felonies can take, pretty much everything that you got away from you, even including your life. And so, since felonies can take everything away from you, the whole point of having a grand jury is to make sure that they're not frivolous, to make sure that this is a case that actually has some backing or some bearing. There's actual something to this case, right? It's not just like a selling cigarettes kind of thing. It's like a murder. It's like somebody had died. The grand jury decided not to indict, which is absolutely embarrassing. Those citizens should be embarrassed of themselves. The prosecutor always tries to do this, and this is how the police in America get away with murder. They murder, and then it goes to the grand jury. The grand jury fails to indict, and therefore, you know what? It doesn't go any farther. No double jeopardy. They went ahead and ruled on the case, and so that's it. It's like, he didn't indict. But that's not really a double jeopardy. It's a trial. The grand jury isn't, a trial. It's just whether or not we should have a trial for a felony. So it's only to stop the frivolous felony cases. The real felony cases, I mean, if there's cases where there's no dead body, that's a frivolous case, right? But if there's a dead body on the scene, then there's probable cause that possibly, perhaps, maybe, just maybe, a crime has occurred. There's a dead body on the scene. The Garner family is going to win an out-of-court settlement of $6 million. 2019, the Justice Department declined to bring criminal charges against Daniel Pantaleo. So the Garner family is kind of like the OJ thing, right? There's no criminal charges, but he had to pay a bunch of money, so he was liable for the deaths, but he wasn't, And when it comes to the Garner family, they get $6 million. They won an out-of-court settlement for $6 million. And so what's that saying? They knew that they had no case whatsoever, and therefore they're going to have to pony up, and they thought that paying them $6 million out of court would have been cheaper than the settlement they would have got had they actually took it to trial and a jury had recommended the amount of money that they should get. So that's, like OJ, right? So they're criminally responsible, or they're liable. They were paid. They're not criminally liable, but they are civilly liable. So Pantaleo, this police officer, Daniel Pantaleo, he didn't murder Eric Garner, but he is liable for the murder of Eric Garner for $6 million. And, of course, he's not going to pay for it. It's going to be the city that pays for it. So the entire city of New York just lost $6 million because Daniel Pantaleo murdered Eric Garner. And it was a murder. It was a murder. He killed him. He killed him. So if you're going to sit there and try to tell me that because you got a badge and a gun and you got a uniform and therefore you can commit all the crimes, you can commit every crime that you want to commit. Murder's the worst one. If you're saying murder is okay, there's not a single crime out there. There's nothing that, if they think it's okay to take Eric Garner's life, to rob him, to rape him, to, to sell cigarettes to him without tax stamps, to do anything to him, to commit any crime against him, they are okay with. They are okay with taking his life. Taking his life. So assault, violence, abuse, everything. Burning his house down, destroying his family. They don't give a crap. They don't care about his life. Erica Garner, his daughter's going to die mysteriously. She's outspoken. Just after she has baby Eric Garner, which she named after her father, she's got 2 kids, and hopefully they're still alive. I want baby Eric Garner to become president one day. I want baby Eric Garner to become president. So Erica Garner, she's outspoken, and she's like, asking a lot of questions, and then she's going to die mysteriously. Dies of cardiac arrest. Out of nowhere. Just in Brooklyn, New York. She's got 2 kids. She's 27 years old, and then she dies of cardiac arrest. My God. Dies of cardiac arrest. That's incredible. That suggests there's foul play to me. 27 years old. Apparently she had an enlarged heart or some bullshit. Yeah, is it possible that they know some scare tactics? I don't know. This is just, okay, so Eric Garner just got choked to death. His daughter's speaking out about it. And then she dies at 27 because of a cardiac arrest, so a heart attack. A heart attack and then left her brain dead. And so when it comes to Eric Garner, I'm going to play this clip here in a second, but when it comes to Eric Garner, is he a victim? I think he's a hero. So I think he's a big-time victim. And when you watch what happened, it was videotaped. So the entire nation got to see with our own eyes that Daniel Pantaleo killed a man, murdered a man, took a man's life. And so it seems like this police commissioner, he's going to be pissed off, okay? So Bill de Blasio, he said at a debate we need to change the conversation, and he was critical of the police, but he was essentially saying that, as a father of a child of color, I think a black child or maybe a brown child, but as a father of a black child, he, has to have that conversation about how to, essentially work with the police and how to comply if they order, obey, and all this other shit, to put the hands up. And Bill de Blasio is just talking about having a different conversation. So he's just saying community policing, they could be nicer, they could be decenter. It doesn't just have to be authoritarian fascism. And so the thin blue line is just such fucking bullshit. The thin blue line says, no matter what, because you're on our side, because you're wearing a uniform and you're a cop, you're on our side, you're on our team, you're in our gang. And no matter what crime you commit, because we believe in the thin blue line, no matter what crime you commit, we will always back you, even if it's murder. And that's what they're doing with Daniel Pantaleo. He murdered a person, and now they're backing him as if he's like their fucking, like he's a champion of some sort. He's not a hero. He took a person's life that didn't need to die. In fact, that person he was a hero, so you should have thank you for stopping violence on the streets. What would you rather have, violence on the streets or people, maybe selling a cigarette or two, that's not getting properly taxed? How much money could you get for a cigarette in New York? $1? You make $1, so he didn't pay what, his 6 cents, 20 cents? What are you doing? Cops, 20 cents? The assault, if he stopped a fight, then he's a better police officer than Daniel Pantaleo will ever hope to be. Because he actually looked at a conflict and he de-escalated it and stopped it. They were fighting. There was actually 2 people that was injured. That's what, to me, I think the law is there to prevent us from injuring each other. So if there's no injury, who did Eric Garner injure? Who did Eric Garner hurt? So this police fucking commissioner is going to go on and on and on. It just pisses me off. It pisses me off because he's so confident and charismatic, but he's just saying that fascist police can do fascist shit, then blue line all the way. We're allowed to murder people, and we're just going to back people as if they were actually doing something. They say, well, he resisted arrest. He moved his arm. Ooh, he resisted arrest. So that's a crime again. Yeah, okay, what about the crime of false arrest? What about impersonating a police officer? What about false imprisonment? What about malicious prosecution? What about malicious arresting? What about foul play? What about official misconduct? What about, what's the one they use for violence? Essentially, excessive force. Excessive force. That's committing, look at all these crimes that Daniel Pantaleo had committed. This police commissioner is going to say later on, my God, if we can't beat people up, when they try to resist the arrest, if that's an assault, then we will never be able to make any more arrests. Every arrest on the street is reckless assault. Finally, he actually got close to the truth with that one. Any arrest on the street is reckless. Yeah, most of them probably are, right? It's just, oh my God, I'm so scared I'm going to arrest this person. They're going to hate it, and now I've got the crime that I was looking for, resisting. Well, they would never have resisted if you never, gave them anything to resist. If they tried to citizens arrest a police officer, could they, further put a charge on the cop if he resisted? No, I'm citizens arresting you. No, you're resisting me? No, don't you resist me. Oh my God, pow, 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 pow. I was making a lawful citizens arrest, and then he resisted. So I had to pull a Daniel Pantaleo. I had to pull a Daniel Pantaleo on him. Murder is the worst fucking crime. So they have no sense of the law. This police union have no sense of the law. They are insanely pro-fascist authoritarian, and this makes me look up to Bill de Blasio even more. Bill de Blasio is absolutely amazing. Bill de Blasio has been standing up to this shit. He's trying to say, look, we just need to, think about policing differently, and this is the shit that he's getting. This is the pushback. This is crazy. This is an insane amount of pressure to be a piece of shit, to be a fascist authoritarian, piece of shit that allows your goons, your stormtroopers, your Gestapo to go around murdering all the Jews that they want to. Oh yeah, you murdered a Jew, so who cares, right? No, that's bullshit. Murder is a fucking crime. So, okay, let's listen to some of this. I've commentated for 17 All right.
Today is one of the saddest and most damaging days in the history of New York City and the New York City Police Department.
Oh my God, what happened? Was it 9/11? Did 9/11 happen?
Where a New York City police officer who was sent out by request from the community through our chief of department's office to go out and enforce the law. A person stood and say, not today, I'm not going. A police officer has no other choice but to enforce that law.
He's got no other choice. No other choice whatsoever. So we got 15 million. I think there's 35 titles in Colorado law, and each one of those titles are 1,000 pages. Judges and lawyers aren't even reading all those damn laws. So there's just way too many laws on the books. Nobody actually knows what the specific laws are. But I'll tell you this, in Pueblo, it's illegal to have a sunflower in your yard. So if you're raising a sunflower, would you want Daniel Pantaleo on the scene to enforce the crime of you raising a sunflower? You raised a sunflower. That's a crime. So I'm going to beat you up, I'm going to arrest you, and I'm going to put you in jail. And if you resist, then I'll add another charge on top of all your other charges.
We can't just walk away. It's not called de-escalation. It's called doing your job. Now, this is a tragedy.
It's not called de-escalation. It's not called de-escalation. It's called doing your job. So escalating, fascism, authoritarian. I saw there was a bunch of Christians that got killed. The police officers on the scene just said, hey, I'm the boss, I'm doing this. And then someone said, I'm not going to do that. And then he just started swinging. So they just come up on the scene and they're just violent, psychopaths. My God, what happened to Andy Griffith? What happened to Mayberry? Has America ever been Mayberry where, you had cops who didn't carry cops who didn't carry guns, walking around actually solving people's problems, and then when the town drunk went to jail, you treated him like a person, you baked him a cake, you had Aunt B prepare him a breakfast? Has it ever been Mayberry? Have we ever treated people like that? The prison system, we treated people like people, and then the town, he's actually, the Andy Griffith went around without a gun because he said that the respect of his, office and authority, essentially he just wanted people to respect the office and his authority, and then that would work, and for the most time, for the most part it did.
make no mistake, that family has lived with this tragedy for 5 years. Also has the police officers that have to deal with it. But
oh, wow. So you quickly, right, oh, they lost their father and they lost their granddad and they lost their daughter, Erica. They're you know, half their family's dying. But, you know, poor family. But then poor police officers that murdered them, they're going through some shit, too, because they're looking at criminal charges for the murder that they committed, and they might get in trouble for that. They might have to go through the same criminal justice system that we've been shoving the American people through that has no sense of justice or fairness whatsoever. And we know it's a slaughterhouse, you know. It's just a rocket docket slaughterhouse, and so that's why they're opposed to, you know, they're opposed to Daniel Pantaleo going through the criminal justice system because they know it's all unfair. They know that they're just to prosecute it, so once the wheels of the judicial branch, once there's a charge and arrest, then it just keeps on going. They'll eat anybody alive, whoever gets stuck into it. So they're going to fight tooth and nail, make sure that it's buried in the grand jury, and then the Justice Department isn't going to do shit about it, but Bill de Blasio, the mayor, who these fucking pricks have been hating. I mean, the fact that Bill de Blasio has been going across, you know, coming up against these motherfuckers, I definitely respect Bill de Blasio like 1,000,000 times more now. So, what was I saying? I was sitting there saying that, you know, they're fucking assholes.
The decision that was passed down today, saying that this police officer was reckless, is ludicrous. New York City police officers now will be considered reckless every time they put their hands on someone. That's what our job is. That's what you expect when you dial 911.
I do not expect you to just recklessly assault people, the police officer, this fucking prick. I do not expect you to go around recklessly just hurting people. That is not what I expect. I expect you to actually be a good steward, to look at what's going on, make it the appropriate, you know, ascertain the situation. If it's just a bunch of peaceful people having an argument, going around just knocking people out for having an argument, that's kind of stupid. So, insanity.
There's a criminal attacking you. How do we do our jobs if we can't stop and say, sir, you can't do that, and they refuse?
You can't have a sunflower, sir.
Today to tell every New York City police officer, and they're on patrol right now, when someone calls 911 and dispatchers call you, and there's a circumstance where you have to put your hands on someone, call your sergeant first. Call emergency service second.
So this asshole is sitting there saying because the New York Police Department now has to be fair and decent and maybe employ actual community policing, now that they actually have to, you know, be decent human beings and not just fascist pieces of shit that just goes around hurting people, he's sitting there saying they can't do their job. The whole police department has been frozen. Why? Because this one guy that murdered somebody that he shouldn't, he murdered an innocent man. Well, he's going to lose his job. That's what this is about. He's not going to get charges. He's not going to look at jail time. He's not going to get, you know, choked. He's not going to endure any of the shit that he actually put upon another person. The city had to pay the $6 million. So Daniel Pantaleo, oh, what? It's horrible for his family because there's such bad publicity. He murdered a man. He murdered a man. So if he was a human being, he would just come out and apologize. Hey, you know, I shouldn't have done this. You know, this happened, but it's bad for, you know, for liability. You can't apologize. So for just a legal case, you know, so this is it's incredible. This is insanity. The Kirsten Gillibrand said that Bill de Blasio should have fired him, and then someone else said that he should have fired him too. So two people, other presidential candidates, both had pointed it out, and then there was hecklers. There was hecklers at one of the debates, and they were saying, fire Pantaleo, fire Pantaleo. So some of the audience members, instead of watching the entire debate, they went ahead and started chanting that, you know, we needed to fire Pantaleo, and it was wonderful, and it was, you know, fantastic, and it provoked a conversation, and now this is happening. So what had Bill de Blasio, he had said to the American people that that family will get justice. And that's what he's going to be pissed off, this, you know, police union guy. I don't know who he is, but he's just, you know, he's got that, you know, Bronx or Brooklyn accent. He's got a nice set of hair. He's dressed, you know, real nice, but he's just fucking pissed off and angry all over the place, right? So he's just an angry piece of shit. And he has no sense of justice. He's got no sense of morality or justice or ethical. He has no sense of justice whatsoever. If you're just going to back a murderer, if I'm a police officer and my, deputy was in a situation and some shit had happened, but if my deputy, pushed it, provoked it, caused it, initiated it, how many times are you going to let one of your deputies rape somebody? How many times are you going to let one of your deputies burn down someone's house? How many times are you going to let your deputy attack people that did nothing wrong? Or to steal from them, or to rob them, or to murder them, to kill them? I feel like not even one time. As soon as that police officer rapes somebody, he's breaking the law. So, yeah, police officers are supposed to be, they should actually have higher scrutiny, not less. They have immunity because, they're, doing the job for the state, so therefore the immunity laws need to be, completely destroyed. We don't need immunity for anything. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So, yeah, so they have immunity laws. Like, what the fuck?
Because you will not have the backing of the city. You will not have the backing of the department.
We saw the crime with our own eyes.
We had a mayor who predetermined the outcome. We know that because he said it on the...
He may have, I don't know if he predetermined it, but he definitely wanted some justice for the family, and so all he did was get an administrative judge to say that Daniel Pantaleo needs to be fired. He hasn't been fired yet, for 5 years. I guess the New York City Police Department and taxpayers have been paying Pantaleo to sit on his fat ass. He murdered somebody, now he gets a 5-year vacation. My God, what's the incentive for him not to shoot again?
National stage. He said the family will get justice. Of course, that family's justice is finding a police officer guilty and firing them. So how can you say they will get justice if you don't know what the response is going to be? So today he stood in front of all of you and lied like he's done before. So our police officers, unfortunately, are in a position of having to protect themselves rather than spending the time protecting you. Again, call your sergeant to the scene. Wait for emergency service.
Okay, so he just goes on and on, basically with that whole tenor, and then nobody asks any hard questions. He's going to say, do it for the Gipper. Do it for the Gipper. Well, don't do it for the Gipper no more. So the thin blue line, it's okay if you murder and you kill. Any arrest on the street is going to be a reckless assault. What if that's what the police have been doing, just recklessly assaulting everybody and not giving a damn? And who's supposed to stand up to the police? If you assault back, right, so you can't resist, you can't assault, you just have to take a beating? A cop just wants to beat you up, and then, how hard would it be for a dirty cop just to say, I ran into this person and he had a gun, so I had to shoot him, right? Just, how hard would it be to put any charge on a person, arrest him, and then, if the police officer just can kidnap you, then there's like some Latin phrase before the court or some shit. So if a police officer can beat you up and kidnap you, then you have to, whatever he charges you with, jaywalking, trespassing, disorderly conduct. Why did you get beat up? Well, he was saying fuck real loud. Well, aren't you an American? Don't you have a right to free speech? Fuck real loud. He was saying fuck real loud. So, the local trial courts, if you don't have a lawyer, you're not going to appeal and then appeal again and then take it to the Supreme Court. So, it's just these weak little tiny judges, these little nerds that went to college and, I know this and I know that. And these fucking, bodybuilders, these, bouncers go around attacking the general population. It's just a nice little symbiotic relationship, right? These tiny little judges need their goons to go fight people. The people want to go fight people and get the respect, for, using violence, wanton violence against innocent people. And they get away with it because the judge signs off on it. So and then the judge might have, some criminals that he wants them to, hey, you take a look at these criminals over here. Or they're not criminals per se, but they're just people that really annoy me. Could you, just knock on their door, see what's going on? So corruption, absolute, power corrupts absolutely. So Bill de Blasio, the fact that he's had to stand up against this fucking prick, and he's just, I thought that the first debate had normalized two things. It normalized speaking Spanish, and it normalized criticizing the police. Nobody is, above reproach Nobody's above reproach. In America, you know, you can criticize the person who's criticized them to criticize the... We got free speech. So to sit there and say, what, well, not the police should never be criticized, get the fuck out of here. If anything, they're the state power. They're the agents of the government, so therefore they should be criticized the most because we want our police to be the most outstanding, greatest people in our community. We want to trust that when they went into that house, they, you know, hurt the person that needed to be hurt. They're not just beating everybody up just to be beating up people, but they actually saw a situation. Most of the time, they're like Andy Griffith. Most of the time, they're solving conflicts. They're working it just through their mouths. They're separating, you know, the pissed off parties and kind of giving them individual one-on-one attention, determining what they think to, you know, believe the cause of the thing, and then try to work it out. Well, I think y'all just have a bad communication. I think y'all need to work through some things.